Howdy everyone. Welcome to This Old Vegan. My name is Merlene Vassal, and in this video I'm going to share with you my thoughts on guns, young men, and compassion. If you've watched my previous videos, you can probably tell that I see my home and the outdoor areas surrounding it as a peaceful haven for animals and insects as well as humans. One of the things that I really used to enjoy was looking out of my kitchen window across the way at my neighbor. He was a young man who, during the pandemic, bought a puppy, and I would often see him out in his yard, with the puppy playing catch, running around with the dog. And over the months, I saw the dog, get bigger, their relationship get closer. And it was just a lovely sight to see while I would sit at my breakfast counter and eat my lunch, or once in a while my dinner. Unfortunately, the house was owned by the young man's aunt, and she sold it. So I had never really gone across the way to speak to him, but when I saw the moving truck outside, I was really actually kind of devastated because I had enjoyed watching him so much. I told my brother the story, and he said, "You should go across there and tell the young man how much you've enjoyed watching him." I didn't want to sound like a creepy old lady looking at this man out the window, but I decided to go ahead and do that. I had a brief but really nice chat with him for the first time, and I was really glad that my brother had pressed me to do it, because I think it turned out to be a really nice thing for both of us. Anyway, fast forward, the home eventually sold, and I don't know if it's a large family or maybe it's a blended family, but in any case, I would often see in the afternoons a group of 4 or 5 or maybe 6 young men sitting out in the yard. They did not have any pets, and so, again, I missed my old neighbor and his dog, but, life goes on. Well, this past Monday, May 23rd, I went to make my lunch and I looked out the window and I saw a couple of the young men playing with what I assumed was a BB gun. They started shooting at trees. I don't know if they were just shooting at the trees or perhaps trying to shoot birds. My heart started racing. I was furious. I was scared. I was very upset. And so I, tossed on a jacket and went across the way. And, one of the older young men, maybe in his 20s, I think the other ones were probably teenagers, he came over to me, and actually I was so upset, I don't even remember what exactly I said to them, but essentially that they needed to stop shooting the BB gun. And if they didn't stop, I was going to call the police. The young man told me, that it was their property and for me to get off of their property. So I went home and I decided I wasn't going to wait for them to do it again. I just went ahead and I called the police. Now, I will tell you that I do not like to call the police, because when you call the police, you know that you're bringing a gun into the situation, which I don't think ever makes things better. But given the fact that there was already a BB gun at play, and I didn't really see what my options were. So I called the police, and they said they would send someone over, and they were supposed to get back with me to tell me what happened, but they never did. However, when I looked out the window, I saw the police officer leaving. I had gone to get dressed because I wasn't even properly dressed when I went outside to confront them. So by the time I came back and looked out the window, I saw a police officer walking away. I went to my porch thinking that he would come to my house to tell me what happened, but as I said, he never did. After thinking about this incident for a while, it brought back some memories that I had sort of repressed and put away, of a cat that I had at one point who I had called Two-Face Jr. because she looked like a previous cat that I had owned, or that I had had, named Two-Face. This cat, as all the others, was a stray cat who came into my yard that I started feeding. And she was really a sweet little cat. But at some point, she would throw up a lot, but cats throw up a lot. So that at first didn't concern me. But eventually it got to the point where she couldn't keep anything down. So I brought her to the vet. And to make a long story short, the vet took x-rays and found there were a number of BBs not only stuck under her fur near the surface, but there was also a BB or two that were deep inside of her that apparently were there since she had been a kitten. And anyway, at this point, she had developed some kind of a huge tumor, actually, in her chest. And it was inoperable, and she had to be euthanized. Of course, it's always upsetting to lose a pet friend, but knowing that someone had shot her up with BBs when she was a kitten, and I don't know whether that had anything to do with the tumor growing later, but to think that someone had been so cruel to this little cat was really, really disturbing to me. I also know, it's commonly known, I believe, that oftentimes people who are violent toward animals in this kind of way eventually go on to be violent toward humans. The next day, Tuesday, May 24th, an 18-year-old young man in Texas shot his grandmother and then went to an elementary school and killed 19 children along with another adult and got himself killed as well. I don't know if he killed himself directly or if he committed suicide by cop. But in any case, all of those people were killed. I read a long article about the shooting in the Washington Post, and it mentioned that the shooter had previously gone around shooting people at random with BB guns out of the window of a moving car. It also mentioned that he had a very troubled past, including being bullied for his stuttering, dealing with parental drug abuse, and also experiencing self-harm, cutting himself on the face. Seeing all this news coverage the very next day after the incident with my neighbors has been extremely upsetting to me. But it has also caused me to think about how I could have handled the situation better than I did. There are three things that I think that I could have done better. First was to control my anger, to get my own emotions under control before going to speak to those young people. The second is that I could have planned my response better, of course, if I had not been angry at the time, so that I would have chosen my words more carefully. And the third thing is that I always should remember that even when you see someone who's doing something that you think is outrageous, harmful, dangerous, whatever, they may be dealing with their own troubles, and you have to take that into consideration. What I've decided to do next is to see if I can identify who is the head of the household. I don't think any of the young men that were out there were old enough to be the owner of the property. But if I can identify the owner of the property, I would like to return with a peace offering, maybe a package of cookies or something, as well as a printout of the gun laws here in Maryland where I live, which make it illegal to shoot BB guns or any other kind of firearms in a residential neighborhood. They have restrictions as to where you can shoot any kind of firearm here, which my neighbors may not know about. But I think it would be a much more productive course of action to try to have a very civil and calm and compassionate discussion with whoever the head of household is. Hopefully that person is a reasonable person. So my overarching thoughts about this whole situation is that the United States really needs to do something about this gun culture and the glorification of violence. Guns need to be taken off of the streets and out of people's hands. I also feel that it's imperative that we start to provide ways for people to get mental health assistance, especially young men who seem to be particularly prone for violence. But really, mental health services need to be available to everyone who needs them. Finally, I think that all of us, myself included, need to be and to express and to show and to demonstrate more compassion at all times, as much as we can, as much as we possibly can. Thank you for watching this video. I would really appreciate it if you would leave your thoughts and opinions in the comment section. Please take care of yourselves.